Well, let's get into this now. And Democratic Alliance's long-standing member and Gauteng Member of the Legislature, Khume Ramulifho, has announced his resignation from the party. He is the latest prominent leader of the party to jump ship after being with the Democratic Alliance for 25 years. Ramulifho will be joining the newly established Rise Mzansi party. He joins me now to tell us the reason for this decision. Mr. Ramulifho, thank you very much for your time. Can I ask this question and referencing what you have just done? The viewer would not have seen this, of course. I saw you just moments before we came on air wiping your forehead with a cloth, I would imagine. And 25 years having been with the DA, surely this cannot have been an easy decision, if I can use your wiping off your forehead as a metaphor.
No, indeed, Xoli, thank you for the opportunity. It has not been an easy decision, but I felt like I need to come to make a decision based on what I did when I joined the party. It was not really fashionable at the time, but the one primary focus that I want to be part of the party which is going to grow, broaden its scope, and be an inclusive party which will represent the interest of all South Africans. And that is what I've been doing since I've joined the party 25 years ago. I started as a student activist to say we need students who will be able to advance, defend and promote the DA values, DA principles with the intention of building, an inclusive society. And also, join branches, build branches, constituencies, and even region in Johannesburg. So that is what I've been doing. And there was an opportunity to engage at some certain stages where, when you come with views, we concretize, we put them on the agenda, they get approved or adopted. But at this time around, I feel like I reached the dead end. The approach which the party is adopting, for example, is to say we must prioritize all the wards where the DA got 50% plus in the last elections, which was 2021. And in effect, it means that Khume, where is assigned in Soweto, has got no role to play. And I felt like this is not what I've actually subscribed to. I joined the party with the intention that I want to grow, broaden the base, and make sure that we serve our people with pride, with integrity, without any hesitation. And that is what I've done. I've dedicated my almost half of my life to build and grow the party. Yeah. But I feel like now it's time to say goodbye. I don't regret any moment which I spent with the party. I just feel like where we are now, I can't continue because I'm not going to add value. My role is not going to be fed because the approach with which the party is taking is not what I initially subscribed to.
Well, Khume, in a way, you're almost taking us into the reasons why you have done this. On the one hand, you are saying that you feel like you have reached a dead end with the Democratic Alliance, but there's also the element that you are bringing now, just as you ended that point, about prioritizing wards that would have been gained, I think, in the last elections. What about these two statements crystallizes why it is that you think that this is indeed a dead end for you in terms of your contributions to the Democratic Alliance?
No, I think the approach is to say, because there's this new approach, moonshot cut, it's to say, we'll consolidate our, own base, which has been there for a long time. Then parties like IFP will then consolidate, there are also other base, and that will be then what defines our progress going forward. And that is not what I want to see. I wanted the DA to be the leading party to grow its own base, so that, the activists and members we recruit in areas like your Soweto, your Fort Loras, your Atteridgeville, your Sebokeng, Sharpeville, are not only going to join the party to go to events, we are also expecting them to grow the party and be actively involved. And that's why I feel like now this is not where we are, and I can't continue with that. then I opted to say, let's look at the parties which have got the same ambition to broaden and build an inclusive society in real terms, and I felt like, Rise Mzansi is that opportunity where I can contribute, go on the ground and start building the organization together with like-minded people who are already there, not going to occupy, a position somewhere else, but just to say, let me focus on building, the part from the scratch on the ground, and we see how things will go. But I'm convinced that I disconnected myself from the DA.
It's a very interesting picture that you are painting, because on the one hand, you talk about the Democratic Alliance strongly suggesting that there needs to be a consolidation of the gains where they were made, but then you also bring into the equation the IFP, that a similar approach seems to have been agreed upon there as part and parcel of this moonshot pact. And so if I try to make sense of that in my mind, it would seem that you are suggesting that in the different enclaves or regions where this party is stronger, there is a strong view that let's focus the attention there, and perhaps neglecting that the party could grow even bigger as it seeks to become a national leader or a party that could potentially take over government one day. And you remind me of a statement that was made by John Steenhuisen yesterday on this show, who said, perhaps it is time that South Africa started considering coalitions, because South Africa, having been governed by one party since democracy, since the dawn of democracy, is not a good thing. And therefore, for him, coalitions are what perhaps the next step is for South Africa. Do you get a sense of where I'm going with this? Is it perhaps the view that the DA may never become the government of South Africa, and therefore it is now hedging its bets and thinking that it could get into government, if you like, via the back door using the coalitions?
No, indeed, that's the conclusion one come at, to say we're giving up that we are not going to win support, so we need to bank on others. That's the only way. And that is not what I subscribe to, because that on its own tells you that you will not be, running an inclusive society, as we indicate. So if you said, because you belong to this particular corner, you will only come with that corner, and I will come with this corner, then we combine and then we look diverse. That's not what I want to see. I'm saying the DA must be able to go out and recruit, attract members or supporters or voters across the board. But that seems to have been the history. It's no longer what they actually intend to do. So one will conclude that they've given up, and not necessarily those areas. If you recall, 2016, when I was also leading the Johannesburg region, we extended our reach to even go to the areas like your Eldorado Park and your Lenasia, and we performed very well, which subsequently that support has just dropped out. But then now we're saying no more, it's no go zone, we can't even go there anymore. So I said that is not what I subscribe to. So I think the model which the DA want to use, it's actually a different one. And I feel like I can't be able to make any contribution further than what I've done. Yeah. And that's why I decided to call it a short.
Khume, I'm glad that you are in agreement with at least how I tried to make sense of this. It then leads to the next important question, and that is that if you are of the firm view that indeed the Democratic Alliance has reached a ceiling, it will only get into government, national government, via the coalitions. Talk to me about whether this party will likely be severely punished at the polls this year for its stance. It hasn't come out fully to say we are in support of Israel here. We know the stance of the South African government on this particular war. It would seem that the DA, yes, publicly, you are not saying that you support Israel, but perhaps quietly you are in support of Israel in terms of the things that have been happening, whether you talk about Khaleb Kachalia, and now the latest question is around the under-19 cricket captain, where the party is demanding his reinstatement because they're saying that he's being punished. What are your thoughts around how the DA has handled this Israel-Gaza war?
Yeah, obviously this is not the first time issue which surfaced. I've been raising this matter for some time. I recall as early as 2003, 2004, and I was saying, if we are there to defend and promote human rights and freedoms, that should also be pronounced through Palestine and Israel. Obviously, at the time I was told, hey, we've got so many problems in areas like Zimbabwe, we must focus here locally. That's where there are human rights abuses and violations. But I said, for me, human rights and freedoms are not supposed to be subjected to where it's your vested interest is. It must be condemned at all, cost, wherever you see it taking place. In this instance, our DA leader has jumped to go to Ukraine saying, there are violations, there's war, which we all agree that we don't need war, we need peace in the world. But when it comes to issue of Israel and Palestine, we get told, there are a lot of issues locally. Let's focus on local matters, which is double standard. I've been raising that. It's not something new. And I said we need to be firm on what we stand for. We can't play double standard. When things suit us, we say something else. And when it doesn't, it's something else. There are a number of contradictions there and there. But we used to also have an opportunity to engage and say, this can't be right. Opportunity seems to have been disappearing. And that's why I feel like we can't be, biased. We need to be firm when it comes to principles and values. And equally, as you see, that even the issue of approach on issues, I said you can't, if there's human rights violation, whether it's a black person or it's a white person, you must use the same approach. It can't be, if it's a white person, we jump, we go to court, South African human rights, but when it's a black person, no, it's okay, we'll deal with it. Then we're not going to be perceived as defenders of human rights and freedoms, because that is what our principles and values are. So I want, my expectation has been we need to be firm. Every now and then when we talk about these matters, we must be, our approach must not necessarily be swayed by, who are we talking or referring this matter or defending these matters on. So I think you might have noticed also what happened to, Kachalia when he expressed his views. Immediately he was just, relinquished with the responsibilities as, shadow MEC, which is not really supposed to be the case. And we've got many people in the DA who are not necessarily happy with the position which the party has taken. But I felt like I don't have energy to go further than this. I had enough. I thought my contribution, which I've made, it's enough. I don't have energy to, go on now. I rather save my energy somewhere else and utilize it to build what I believe is right for this country to succeed, which is an inclusive society where we represent the interests of all our people, regardless of their race or class or gender.
Khume Ramulifho, let me thank you very much for your time. Very, very telling views there from Khume Ramulifho, who says goodbye to the Democratic Alliance after 25 years.